damn, I wonder if Robert De Niro with glasses or Robert De Niro without glasses will be the winner in the game of De Niro's. This couldn't seem more like an SNL skit.
How do you know what he's gonna do?
You see, I thought The Irishman was the last time, the big goodbye. You know, they got the whole gang together, Scorsese and De Niro, but also Joe Pesci, Harvey Keitel, Al Pacino. They got them all together for one last big gangster film, and then they said goodbye to the genre forever, right? No. We still got De Niro just sitting here, playing all the roles by himself now. What the hell is this? The Alto Knights is about Frank Costello, played by Robert De Niro, in a gang war with Vito Genovese, played by Robert De Niro. So they're not twins, but they're brothers? No? Distant cousins? I'm so confused. Why is he playing both of these roles? They're not related. So they grew up together, and then Vito became big boss, but then he had to beat a double murder charge, so he left the country and then got trapped overseas for years during World War II. So Frank took over as big boss, and then Vito comes back and expects to just be handed it all back, and Frank says no, and then all the other people say no as well, so Vito puts a hit out on Frank, and he gets shot in the head but survives, and then you would think that a giant gang war breaks out and it's going to get very exciting. It does not. This definitely has the style of Scorsese films. It's clear that they wanted to make one of his films without him. They even got his big guy in, but I just don't get why they didn't get one of those other guys that's still running around, like Harvey Keitel or Joe Pesci, to play the other role. Like, I don't understand why Robert De Niro is playing both. It doesn't make any sense, and it's distracting, and it's strange. They're not related. Nobody even acknowledges that they look similar, like, at any point during the film. They grew up together. They just so happen to look the same. Like, what's going on? It is very weird and distracting, and also it does just feel like, which is what it is, a bunch of granddads running about, but not running about. There's one scene, which is the most action-packed scene in the whole film, where they are like trying to run, and they're all just waddling to their cars. It's rough. It's rough that was meant to be an exciting scene, but also the majority of the film is just people sitting and talking. And it's old men sitting and talking and having those sort of conversations where they just keep saying the same thing over and over again to each other. And it's just, you're wondering, like, people were, like, making this, like, behind the camera going, yeah, this is perfect. Like, what? I think that at the end of the day, you are getting to watch Robert De Niro do what he does best. You're watching him do too much of it, in fact, because he's just juggling these characters around, and it's tough to do, but he is a phenomenal actor, and he does it well. It just... they've done this just to cast him, because these guys were definitely meant to be younger than Robert De Niro is, even near the end. And it seems to cover about 20 years in the storytelling. It covers much more than that, actually. It's a 2-hour film that needed to be a 4-hour film, but they probably just didn't have the budget for that, so they just decided to make the first, 40 years of these guys' lives and acquaintances into 10 minutes of exposition with really overbearing narration. One of De Niro's characters is just narrating all the time, and it means that you just get way too much stuff that's told instead of shown. And yeah, I really love getting to watch Robert De Niro play these sorts of characters, but it just isn't enough here. And honestly, I don't know, I don't feel like it's a completely useless or unnecessary addition to the genre necessarily. You could say that it's a last-ditch effort to keep the very dead genre alive, if you're being kind. But to not be kind, I feel like this film has a tight grasp on the saggy balls of its audience, because 80-year-old man is the target here and nobody else. Like, it does feel, you could say that the script is very well written, because it is just meant to be old men having these sort of meandering, plotting conversations with each other. However, that's not actually interesting to watch. Yeah, this was kind of rough. It moves glacially slowly at times, reasonably at others, but it never feels like good. Even with De Niro in 2 commanding performances on the screen, it just doesn't do anything. And it feels like they blow so much of the runtime on these really slow plotting conversations that go nowhere, from all these old men just screaming at TVs and stuff, when they skipped in the opening 10 minutes of exposition so much more exciting stuff that they could have shown us instead of just telling us about. So am I talking to me? Ain't nobody else here, so I must be talking to me. 2.5 stars. Do you think the relative failure of a film like this will just stop De Niro from making more? Because he could probably get away with just grabbing a bunch of people together and making gangster films until he's 105, but shouldn't. He could have stopped starring in these 30 years ago, and he still would have been the most legendary figure in the history of the films.